Oh my goodness. Your talk is so incredibly inspiring every single time that I hear it. And we've been working together for what, 2 years now? And every time I'm just, whew. I love how you bring parts of your identity and your story into this beautiful message that can translate to anybody. I just think it's really lovely. So, as usual, we have a few questions prepared for our team that we'll start off with. And for our attendees, remember if you have questions for Rae, click on the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen to type in your question.
All right, so let's start off with our first team question. So Rae, a long time ago, probably spring or summer 2019, we got connected with you because of the work you had for your translucent exhibition at the UWM Art Gallery. Could you share a little bit more about that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. That was actually an exciting experience to be a part of because over the last 6 years or so, have traveled to over dozens of states, or sorry, dozens of locations in about 12 states. And often those have been, solo exhibitions. So that was an exhibition with various trans creators and non-binary creators, and a lot of the subject matter was about transgender and non-binary identity and experiences. And so that was a really fun show for me to be a part of. I got to, kind of talk with those other artists, and mingling with the people who come to those shows is always really exciting. And just the energy there was really beautiful. And I was honored to be a part of it.
That's so great. So we also saw that you partnered with Netflix and GLAAD to celebrate authentic and accurate portrayals of trans characters in media. What was that experience like?
That was, was and continues to be an amazing experience. They actually found me on Instagram because they were looking for a transgender artist to paint people as they were being interviewed. So I was, behind a curtain painting portraits of the people as they were being interviewed, and only had about 45 minutes to do that. The paintings that you can see behind me, I'm in my art studio. These take me anywhere from 1 to 4 months usually to create. So when they actually reached out to me, I said no, because I didn't believe I could do it. So for me, this is a story about conquering some fear and some, just really kind of diving into vulnerability and doing that project. I talked with my wife, and she encouraged me strongly to to call them back and to take them up on that offer. And we talked on about a Tuesday, and I think I was supposed to be in LA filming the next Tuesday, so we had to rearrange a lot. And I actually did some some tests in my studio to even see if I could paint that fast. And as I did more tests, I got more comfortable. I ended up actually recording a playlist. So I had music in my ear so that when I was on set, I had their interview in one ear and my music in the other. And that helped me stay present, right? It had helped me kind of know where I was. I could have been in my studio. And it was a practice of staying present and leaning into that vulnerability, and just believing that I could do it. It was totally an honor to do. If anyone wants to look at it, it's called First Time I Saw Me, and it's on YouTube. And there's a series of interviews there. It's about 5-minute video, so it was really fun and an amazing thing to be a part of.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely have to check that out. I'm so glad that turned out to be such a positive experience. So Ava and I really loved the part in your talk where you said that trans and non-binary people are inherently so resilient because they've self-reflected and created a reality that matched their truth, regardless of any social stigma. Could you speak on this a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's really important to understand that there is no one overarching trans or non-binary experience, right? Everybody's experience of and expression of gender is really different. Some of those variances, have to do with race and gender identity, you know, if you're identifying as transmasculine or transfeminine, when you come out, all of these factors, where you're living, what your job situation is, or housing situation is, or education, all of those things play a factor into how this is going to be experienced by you. And so, you know, I think that there's also, you know, a common narrative of medical transition being, you know, the only way to be trans, and that's just not true. But what is true about transgender and non-binary people is that we have all kind of come to an understanding about our own selves, and whether or not that is seen and honored by other people can definitely affect our experience, but it doesn't change who we are. And all of the people who identify within this umbrella of transness basically have come to a place of just trusting our own instincts and knowing what's true for ourselves, and then saying, you know, like, I'm gonna be who I am. And I think that that is a really powerful expression, and I think that it is something that, you know, the rest of the world can learn from our community. That is a strong group of people.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a really great message. Before I ask our next question, I'd just like to say that Gina typed into the chat, your 4-year-old has just joined the call and wants to say I love you. So I figured that's a nice message to get.
Oh, God, my heart.
So our next question, it's pretty general, but what did you value most about the TEDx experience? Like we've said before, we've been working with you for about 2 years. So what lessons or takeaways did you get from this experience?
Absolutely. It has been a long journey with some ups and downs emotionally and otherwise. And, you know, for me, it was really valuable because when I started doing this work, I did not consider myself a speaker, but realized that in traveling around with artwork specifically centered around transgender identity, that I did need to speak about that. And for me, that meant telling my own story and telling my own journey, and then talking about some of the things that are important to me, obviously, about my artwork and about things that my community is going through. But the TEDx experience, you know, changes when you've got 30 minutes or an hour to stand on stage and talk and have discussion with people. That's different than condensing that into a 10-15 minute talk. So this experience really helped me hone what is my message, like what is really important for me to talk about with people. What's the most, you know, bare bones beautiful learning that I have had in my life, and how can I express that well? And that this process has been amazing. You two have been with me for a long time and have seen my talk through all kinds of changes, and it's been really, really powerful and important. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Rae. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you this entire time. We do have a question from an audience member. Was there a moment or experience that helped you shift in your sense that self-love was the key and important?
Yeah, I mean, I think that moment was when I was looking at facing the cancer treatment that was laid out in front of me. I had been working with all of my doctors and talking with my family and my wife about, you know, how to take care of myself. Um, you know, just having that realization that I had this habit of not loving myself, right? And just thinking to myself, like, if I'm going to heal my body, you know, like, I want to meditate on loving every inch of this amazing body that I inhabit every day. And at that time when I was healing from cancer, honestly, I would go and do, you know, kind of stretching and exercises, and I would just take off my glasses, and so that I couldn't focus too heavily on anything, and just really like send love to my own physical body, because that was such a different experience for me. It was something that I was not used to. And it's still something that I practice. Again, like I said in my talk, it's not something that I think I've like figured out, but it is something that has become integral to how I relate to myself, and how I, you know, manage to get over whatever the kind of negative messaging that I think is out there everywhere. It's also inside when we look at, other people on social media. We have comparative thoughts. All of this stuff is, I think, something that's ongoing. And that practice of self-love kind of brings me back to my center every time. And again, I think it's a practice. I think it's an ongoing practice. I think it does get a little easier over time, but I still struggle. So it's just been, I think a really important thing for me to learn, and it's something that I talk about often with people because I think it's really important. You get to love yourself today.
I completely agree with that. Absolutely. So it doesn't look like we have any other questions from our audience. Rae, is there any final message, call to action, or resources that you want to leave our audience with today?
Absolutely. If you'd like to follow me, I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Trans Painter. And, I don't know how many people are aware, but, we are fighting some pretty tidal wave, I would call it, of anti-trans legislation here in the United States. And so there are ways that you can be involved and help us. I mean, I'm going to put it this way. No one in a legislature would step into my cancer treatment with my doctors and say, no, I don't think you could do that. I think you should do this other practice or this other treatment. And that's kind of what's happening to trans youth, is that legislatures are stepping into their healthcare and saying, we don't think you should be able to meet with your doctors and have the healthcare that you are already pursuing, right? And so this is kind of an ongoing fight, but there are ways that you can help. Definitely check out the folks at the ACLU, and I definitely post about it a lot. And if you can, get educated about these issues and help us, it's something that's weighing on my heart right now. And so I appreciate anybody's desire and ability to help speak out and help us with these bills that are happening. And also just in general, I think that if there's something that you don't know about, it is easy to be afraid and feel protective. And I would just encourage folks to get curious and to listen to trans people and listen to what they're saying and listen to the doctors and what they're saying. And that knowledge will empower you and make us all a better community.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Rae.